My name is Irene Willett. I am 32 years old. 5 years ago, my sister told my parents that I had dropped out of medical school. It was a lie. That one lie took my whole family away from me. My parents cut me off. They blocked my number. They did not come to my residency graduation. They were not at my wedding. For 5 years, I was no one's daughter. Then last month, my sister was rushed into the emergency room. She was bleeding. She was unconscious. She was dying. The trauma team called for the chief surgeon. The doors opened. My mother saw the name on the white coat walking toward my sister's stretcher. She grabbed my father's arm so hard it left marks. Before I go on, I will say one thing. If this story touches your heart, then you can support it the way people do online. You can like it and share it. You can also write where you are and what time it is where you live. I wanted to know where you were when you heard this. Now I will take you back to the fall of 2019. I will take you to a kitchen table in Hartford, Connecticut. That was the last time my father ever looked at me with pride. When I was growing up, there were 2 daughters in our house. But only one mattered. My sister Monica was older than me. She was the kind of girl who performed from the day she could walk. She loved school plays. She loved student council. She could talk to any adult at any dinner party and make them laugh. My parents loved that. My father Jerry managed a manufacturing plant. My mother Diane did part-time bookkeeping. They were decent middle-class people who worked hard. But they valued 2 things above everything else. They valued appearances. They valued obedience. Monica gave them both every day without effort. I was the quiet one. I was the one reading a biology book while everyone ate holiday dinner. I was not rebellious. I was not difficult. I was simply invisible. There is a difference between being forgotten and never being seen at all. I will give one small example. In 8th grade, I made it to the state science fair. I was the only kid from my school who made it. That same weekend, Monica had a community theater show. My parents went to her show. When I came home with a second-place ribbon, my father looked at it for a moment and said, "That is nice, Irene." He did not ask what my project was about. He never did. I told myself it did not hurt. I told myself I did not need attention. I pushed everything into school. I took hard classes. I worked on applications. I thought that if I could not be the daughter they noticed, then I would be the daughter they could not ignore. For a short moment, it worked. The day I got accepted into the medical program at Oregon Health and Science University, something changed. It was far away from Hartford. But it was real. For the first time, my father looked at me and said words I had waited most of my life to hear. But before I tell you those words, you need to understand what Monica did when she felt the spotlight move away from her. The acceptance letter came on a Tuesday in April. Monica was visiting that weekend. She was working in marketing at a firm in Stamford. It was a fine job. It was a fine life. Fine was her limit, even if she did not like to admit that. My father read the letter at the kitchen table. His eyebrows lifted. He said Oregon Health and Science as if he was tasting the words. Then he said, "That is a real medical school." Then he looked at me and said, "Maybe you will make something of yourself after all, Irene." It was not really a compliment. But it was closer than anything I had ever gotten from him. I held on to it like air. That night my mother called family and neighbors. She told them I got into medical school. Her voice sounded different. It sounded proud. It sounded like real pride aimed at me. At dinner I looked at Monica. She smiled. But her smile stopped at her mouth. Her eyes looked busy. They looked like they were counting and measuring and planning. I did not understand it then. I understand it now. After that, Monica started calling me more often. She asked about packing. She asked about my roommate. She asked what Portland was like. She asked about my schedule. She asked about professors and classmates. She remembered every name I said. I thought my sister was finally seeing me. I thought medical school had opened a door between us. I thought we were becoming real sisters. I did not see what I was doing. I was giving her ammunition. I gave her details. I gave her names. I gave her my weak points. I gave it all with a thankful smile. By my 3rd year of medical school, everything broke open. My roommate and best friend was Sarah Mitchell. Sarah grew up in foster care. She had almost no family. She was the reason I survived my first year. She pushed me when I wanted to quit. When I called home during a brutal week and my mother said she could not talk because Monica had a rough day at work, it was Sarah who sat on the floor with me and told me that was their loss and then told me to get up because we had anatomy to learn. In August of my 3rd year, Sarah was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. She had no support system. She only had me. The next morning I went to the dean's office. I explained everything. The dean approved a formal leave of absence for 1 semester. It was for caregiver status. The paperwork was filed. My place was held. I would return in January. It was all documented. It was legitimate. I moved into the spare room at Sarah's apartment. I drove her to chemotherapy. I held her hand in the hospital at night when pain stole her breath. I called Monica to tell her. I do not know why. Maybe I still believed in the sister she pretended to be. I told her about Sarah. I told her about the leave. I told her I would return in the spring. Monica's voice sounded sweet. She said she was sorry. She told me to take all the time I needed. She promised she would not tell our parents because she said they would worry. 3 days later she called them. I did not know what exact words she used that night. I would not learn the full shape of her lie until 5 years later when it fell apart in a place none of us expected. But the damage was immediate. My father called late at night. I was in a plastic chair beside Sarah's hospital bed. Sarah had a bad reaction to chemotherapy, and they admitted her overnight. My phone lit up. My father's voice was cold. He said your sister told us everything. He said the dropping out. He said the boyfriend. He said all of it. I told him it was not true. I asked what he meant. He said Monica showed us the messages. He said Monica showed proof. I felt dizzy. I asked what messages. What proof? I told him I was in a hospital and I was caring for my friend. He said Monica told us you would say that. He said Monica said you would have a story ready. Then my mother got on the phone. Her voice shook. She asked how I could lie for a whole year. I begged her to listen. I told her I filed a leave of absence. I told her I could show the paperwork. I told her she could call the dean. My father cut me off. He told me not to call the house until I was ready to tell the truth. He said I embarrassed the family enough. Then the line went dead. I sat on the hospital floor for a long time. I could hear machines beeping behind the curtain. I looked at my phone screen. It showed the call length. 4 minutes and 12 seconds. That was how long it took my parents to erase me. Not long after a message from Monica arrived. She wrote that she was sorry. She wrote that she had to tell them. She wrote that she could not keep my secret. She was not sorry. She had done the most exact strike of her life. She signed it with a cute symbol like that made it kinder. I was far from Hartford. I had little money. And my friend was dying. And I had just become no one's daughter. I tried. You need to know that. I tried everything I could while I was far away and broke and exhausted. Over the next 5 days I called my parents again and again. At first it went to voicemail. Then my father's number blocked me. 2 days later my mother blocked me too. I sent emails. One short. One long. I attached my leave paperwork. I included the dean's phone number. I included Sarah oncologist's name. I gave them everything a reasonable person would need. They never replied. I wrote a letter by hand and mailed it fast. Days later it came back unopened. I recognized my mother's handwriting on the envelope. I called my Aunt Ruth. Ruth was my father's younger sister. She was the only person in the family who treated me like I mattered. Ruth called my father. She called me later with a heavy voice. She said he told her to stay out of it. He told her I made my bed. Ruth tried to explain the leave. My father hung up on her. Every attempt was rejected or blocked or returned. And the hardest part was that it did not feel new. It felt like my whole life in one sharp moment. Every science fair they skipped. Every time Monica version was accepted without question. Every time my side was dismissed. This was just the loudest version of the same pattern. On the 6th day I stopped calling. Not because I stopped caring. Because I finally understood they had chosen a long time ago. Monica did not create their choice. She only gave them permission to stop pretending. Sarah died on a Sunday morning in December. It was quiet. The monitor tone flattened. Winter light fell through the window. I was the only person in the room. No one from my family called. No one knew. The only family member who knew was Monica, and she did not care. She was busy protecting the lie she planted. I arranged a small funeral. 6 people came. A foster sister came. 2 classmates came. A nurse came. I stood in a chapel meant for many more people, and read a goodbye speech to empty seats. I did not cry. Not because I did not hurt. Because I had been crying for months and there was nothing left. That night I sat alone in Sarah's apartment. Her mug was on the counter. Her jacket hung by the door. I opened my laptop and stared at the form to re-enroll for spring. Then I found a note Sarah left. She tucked it in her anatomy book. She marked the pancreas chapter with a yellow note. She had written a joke about how rude the pancreas was. Then she wrote something else for me. She wrote that I should finish what I started. She wrote that I should become the doctor she knew I was. She wrote that I should not let anyone tell me who I was. Even my own blood. She wrote it before she died. She knew I would need that push. I re-enrolled. I chose to climb instead of crumble. I did not do it for my parents. I did not do it for revenge. I did it for Sarah and for the version of me she believed in. I went back in January with no family support and no safety net. I took more loans. I took part-time research work. I ate leftover food from the hospital cafeteria more times than I can count. Medical school does not pause for heartbreak. Exams do not get easier because your family cut you off. Clinical shifts do not shorten because you cried in a supply closet at night. So I stopped crying and started working. I worked like my life depended on it. In a way it did. I graduated on time. No one from Hartford came. I matched into a surgical residency at Mercy Rest Medical Center in Connecticut. It was a level 1 trauma center. It was one of the busiest places in the state. That is where I met Dr. Margaret Thornton. People called her Maggie. She was tough and sharp and steady. She became the mentor I needed. She became a mother figure when my own mother was gone from my life. In my residency I met Nathan Caldwell. He was a civil rights attorney. He did free work at a community clinic near the hospital. He had calm eyes and dry humor. He was the first person I told my full story to who did not flinch or pity me or rush to fix it. He listened. Then he said, "You deserve better." Those words were enough. We married in Maggie's backyard on a Saturday afternoon. We had a small group of guests. Nathan's father walked me down the aisle. I sent an invitation to Hartford. It came back unopened like my letter. Aunt Ruth came. She cried enough for 2 parents. After the wedding, Maggie handed me a sealed envelope and told me it was a nomination for something. She told me not to open it yet. She said I was not ready. I put it in a drawer and did not ask questions. 5 years passed. I became someone my old family would not recognize. If you have ever been in a family where people refuse to hear your side, then you may understand what that does to you. When the truth does not matter because another person's lie is louder, you start to doubt yourself, even when you have proof. Now I will move to the present. It is January. I am 32 years old. I am the chief of trauma surgery at Mercy Rest Medical Center. I have a house in the suburbs. Morning light hits the porch. I have a husband who makes me laugh. I have a golden retriever named Hippocrates. We call him Hippo. He never judges me when I eat cereal at midnight. My life is good. It is real. I built it brick by brick with my own hands. But there is an ache that does not fully fade. It sits in the place where a family should be. I do not wake up crying anymore. I do not check my phone hoping for a Hartford number. But every holiday there is a moment when I count plates on the table and feel the missing people like a phantom limb. Aunt Ruth calls every Sunday. She is my thread to that world. I do not ask about my parents or Monica. But I listen when Ruth shares information. She told me my parents were healthy. She told me Monica divorced a couple years ago. She told me Monica sells medical devices now. The irony was not lost on me. One week Ruth called and her voice sounded cautious. She said there was something concerning about Monica. Before she could explain, my pager went off. Trauma activation. I told Ruth I would call her back. I did not get the chance because what Ruth was trying to warn me about was already coming. It was racing down the highway toward the hospital. It would run a red light. It would become a wreck. Within an hour, Monica would be on my operating table bleeding out. My parents would be in the waiting room. And my name would be on the chart. I did not know it yet. Let me back up for a moment because what Monica did was not one lie. It was a campaign. Over the years, Ruth fed me small pieces. She did it carefully like she was taking apart a bomb. She told me that every holiday Monica played the role of the sad older sister. Monica told cousins we do not talk about Irene because it hurts mom and dad. Monica would lower her voice and let silence do the work. But Monica did not stop at silence. She added details. She told our grandmother that I was homeless. She told relatives that I was in rehab. She told my mother that she tried to reach out and I refused. She flipped the whole story until it looked like I abandoned them. Monica did not need my parents to forget me. She needed them to believe I left them. That way their grief became proof. Their silence felt justified. And Monica stayed the loyal daughter. She was not protecting them. She was protecting her place. Nathan told me something else one morning over coffee. He said he had been holding it for a while. He told me that someone using a fake name contacted human resources at my old hospital. They asked about my work record. They asked if my credentials were real. They asked if I had been disciplined. Nathan traced the inquiry through a colleague. The digital trail pointed back to Hartford. The kitchen went quiet. Hippo thumped his tail. The coffee maker hissed. I understood then that Monica was not only lying. She was hunting. She was trying to find anything to keep the lie alive. Anything to prove I was a fraud. She found nothing. Because there was nothing to find. Monica did not tell a lie and move on. She built a whole structure made of deception. She kept strengthening it for years. I could have confronted my parents then. I could have hired a lawyer. I could have forced the truth into the open. But I did not. I was tired. And I thought maybe nothing would change anyway. Then life forced the truth out in the most brutal public way. It started with my pager in the middle of the night. I woke from sleep. Nathan shifted beside me. Hippo lifted his head from the foot of the bed. The pager said level 1 trauma. Motor vehicle crash. 1 female patient. Blunt abdominal trauma. Unstable vital signs. Arrival soon. I dressed fast and drove on wet empty roads. January darkness in Connecticut looks like ink. I ran the case in my mind. Blunt trauma. Blood loss. Likely spleen rupture. Possible liver injury. I entered through the ambulance bay and walked toward the trauma room. My team gathered. Residents. Nurses. Anesthesia ready. I picked up the patient chart on the screen and read the name. Monica Ouellette. The noise of the hall seemed to pull back for a moment. For a few seconds I was not a surgeon. I was the woman sitting on a hospital floor years ago, listening to a dial tone after my father erased me. A nurse asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. I told them to prepare the room and page Dr. Patel to stand by. The ambulance arrived. The doors opened and the stretcher rolled in fast. Monica was strapped down. She was unconscious. An oxygen mask covered her face. Blood stained her clothes. One hand hung limp over the rail. Paramedics called out numbers and details. Blood pressure falling. Heart rate rising. Large lines running fluid. Behind them came my parents. My mother looked older. Hair thin. Face drawn. She wore a robe and slippers. My father wore a flannel shirt and jeans thrown on in panic. His skin looked pale. My father shouted that was my daughter. He demanded the doctor in charge. A nurse told them family had to wait. The trauma team was working. The chief would handle it. My father grabbed the nurse arm and demanded the chief now. The nurse looked through the glass toward me. I was already in gloves and gown. My badge was visible. The nurse read my name and her eyes widened for a moment. I gave a small shake of my head. Not now. My parents were guided down the hall to the waiting area. My mother whispered prayers. My father kept turning back to look through windows. I heard him say she is all we have. As if I never existed. I stepped into the scrub area and let myself have a few seconds alone. Water ran hot over my hands. I saw my reflection in steel, distorted and warped. Like my life felt. Part of me wanted to walk out and let someone else operate. Let my parents owe their daughter's life to a stranger. But Monica was bleeding out. She would die soon without surgery. And the best surgeon in the building was me. I called Dr. Patel and told him I had a conflict. The patient was a family member. I asked him to stand by and take over if my judgment was compromised. We documented it. Everything by the book. Then I went in. I looked down at Monica. Bruised face. Shallow breathing. For a few seconds she was not the sister who destroyed my life. She was simply a body on my table. That was the only way I could do the job. We operated for hours. Her spleen was ruptured. We removed it. Her liver was torn. We repaired it with careful stitches. Bleeding vessels were clamped and controlled. My hands moved steady. I spoke only when needed. Clamp. Suction. Retract. Suture. When it was done, her vital signs stabilized. Dr. Patel told me the work was flawless. He offered to speak to the family for me. I said no. I said this one was mine. I walked toward the waiting room. The hallway felt longer than it ever had. In the waiting room under bright lights, my parents sat rigid and exhausted. My father stood first. He asked how she was. Then his eyes dropped to my badge. Then to my face. Then back to my badge. Recognition moved through him like a shock. His hands trembled. His jaw tightened. My mother looked up and her mouth opened without sound. She grabbed my father's arm hard. Silence held the room for a few long seconds. I spoke in the same calm clinical voice I use with every family. I said, Mr. and Mrs. Willett. I am Dr. Willett. I am the chief of trauma surgery. Your daughter Monica had a ruptured spleen and a serious liver injury. Surgery was successful. She is stable. She is in the ICU. You can see her after some time. I did not call them Mom and Dad. I called them Mr. and Mrs. My mother took a step toward me with arms lifting as if to hug me. She said my name like a prayer. I stepped back half a step. She stopped. Her hands fell slowly. My father spoke like gravel. He said, you are a doctor. I said yes. He said, you are the chief. I said yes. Then he started to say Monica said. I asked him what exactly. He could not finish. My mother cried and said they thought I dropped out. I told her that Monica told them I dropped out. I told her Monica claimed I had a bad boyfriend. I told her Monica claimed I was homeless. I told her Monica claimed I refused to contact them. I said none of it was true. I said I sent emails with paperwork. I said I mailed a letter. I said she returned it unopened. My mother pressed her fist to her mouth. My father stared at the floor. I said I called many times. I said they blocked me. I said I asked Ruth to help. I said they told her to stay out of it. I was not shouting. I was reciting facts. Facts do not need volume. A nurse came in with hospital business and congratulated me on a recognition from a committee. My mother looked confused and broken. I excused myself and walked away toward the ICU. Behind me I heard my mother ask my father what have we done. And I heard my father say nothing. Later I went to the ICU to check Monica after surgery. Routine assessment. Drain output. Wound check. Monica was awake but foggy from medicine. Her eyes moved to me. She read my badge. Then she read it again. Color drained from her face. She said my name. I greeted her and explained her injuries and told her she would recover. She said, you are a doctor. She said it like a verdict. I said I was the chief. I saw the same pattern I had seen all my life. Confusion. Disbelief. Fear. Then calculation. Even in that bed, she tried to think of a way to spin it. She said she could explain. I told her she did not need to explain to me. I pointed toward the hall where our parents stood. I told her she needed to explain to them. I finished my checks and left. I did not stay to hear the conversation. But the truth is not quiet. People heard it. Monica cried and tried to play the victim. My parents confronted her with what they had just seen. They said I was a surgeon and chief. They said I had evidence. They said Ruth tried to warn them years ago. Monica tried to deflect. My father finally said they blocked me because Monica told them to. Then Aunt Ruth arrived. Ruth came with proof. Screenshots. Emails. The leave paperwork with signatures. Proof of re-enrollment. A photo of my graduation. Evidence of everything. Ruth showed my mother the files and read messages aloud that showed Monica told Ruth to stay quiet so Mom and Dad could stay at peace. The room went still. My mother read my old emails one by one. She reached the last one and broke in a way that was deeper than crying. My father stood by the window and shook. Monica lay silent. No performance left. Later that day, my parents waited for me. My mother tried to apologize. She called me baby. I raised my hand gently and told her sorry was a starting place, not an ending place. I told her I needed time. My father said they wanted to make it right. I told them they needed to understand something. I told them I was not the girl they sent away. I told them I was not the girl who begged them to listen from far away. I told them I built a full life without them. I told them if they wanted to be part of it now, it would be on my terms. My father nodded with a small broken motion. I told Monica that when she recovered we would talk for real. But not that day. That day she was my patient and I would not mix those roles. Weeks later Monica healed enough to meet. I chose a neutral coffee shop. Nathan came and sat at a distance. Monica looked thin and worn. Her confidence was gone. She held a cup she did not drink. I asked her why. After a long silence she said because I was going to become everything she was not and she could not handle it. It was the first honest thing I had heard from her in years. She said she was sorry. I told her sorry did not give back the years. Sorry did not put our father at my wedding. Sorry did not undo the unopened letters. Then Monica admitted something worse. She admitted she contacted my school and tried to damage my status. She tried to claim my caregiver documents were fake. I told her the dean believed the truth. That was all. I set conditions. I told her she would tell the truth to everyone she lied to. Every aunt. Every uncle. Every cousin. Everyone who believed the rumors. She would correct it all in writing. She agreed. I met my parents at the same kitchen table in Hartford later. I told them I would consider rebuilding, but they must go to counseling. They must learn why they believed a lie about their own daughter without checking. My father resisted at first. Then he agreed. I told them they could not undo the past. They could only start now. With consistency, not grand gestures. Months later at a hospital event, I received an award. I spoke briefly. I said I learned that the people you need are not always the ones you are born to. Sometimes they are the ones who choose you. In the back of the room, my parents sat in silence. They looked torn between pride and grief. After that, my father apologized to Nathan. Monica sent the family email telling the truth. Ruth confirmed everyone received it. Some relatives responded with shock. Some with anger. Many with silence. No one needed to punish Monica. They simply stopped believing her. For someone who lived on being believed, that was its own consequence. My parents started therapy. My mother sent me a handwritten letter admitting she failed me for years by choosing peace over fairness. She admitted she let my father's temper decide what was true. She admitted she saw me quiet and waiting and told herself I was fine because it was easier. I kept that letter with the other things I carry. Monica also started therapy. We met for coffee again and again. Each time was short. Each time was tense. Each time was a little more real. I did not promise forgiveness. I only promised boundaries and time. Monica carries a scar on her body from the surgery that saved her. She will see it for years. I carry the silence she caused. That will take longer to fade. Now I sit in my office at the hospital. My name is on the door. My diplomas are on the wall. Residents look at them and feel hope. On my desk is my wedding photo with Nathan and Maggie and Ruth. On a shelf is a newer photo. My parents on my porch. Awkward. Trying. Real. If you are waiting for your family to finally see you, then I want to tell you something simple. The truth does not expire. It arrives when it arrives. You cannot rush it. You cannot outrun it. I did not win by revenge. I won by living. I built a life on my own terms. That became the loudest answer. You decide when your door opens. You decide how wide. You decide who walks through. One winter morning, light snow fell outside. Nathan made coffee. Hippo waited for crumbs under the table. The doorbell rang. My parents stood on the porch holding small offerings like they did not know what else to do. I invited them in. My father asked if he could help. I told him he could set the table. He counted plates and looked at me. I set out 4 plates. It was not perfect. It was not a movie ending. But it was real. My name is Dr. Irene Willett. I am 32 years old. And after years of silence, I am slowly choosing to let myself be someone's daughter again.